Welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, broadcasting from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful eyes of the Empire and on the fringes with the New Republic. Join your hosts Garrett K. Jones, Brian Karasik, and John Mark Tolley as they discuss the various facets of the saga's lore and characters, review the films, and discuss every tidbit of news coming out of Lucasfilm. Remember, this isn't just your Star Wars, this isn't just my Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. This is the way.
It is indeed the way. Welcome, everyone, once again to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. I'm John Mark Tolley, joined as always by Garrett K. Jones. Hopefully, Brian will be joining us soon. But first of all, Garrett, how are you on this fine day?
I'm doing all right, not too shabby. It's been a whirlwind of a week. I've got a almost 9-year-old starting third grade, and so it has been a crazy few days. He's adapting pretty well though. He's got a great new teacher. Actually, he's got two teachers because he's in a particular program, and so he does a special program, and then for part of the day, and then he goes in for a mainstream class. And last year he was only getting like an hour in his mainstream class. He's going in just before lunch, and he's spending the rest of the day in that mainstream classroom. So he's getting more time. Awesome. And that's really good. And Friday he got points from his mainstream teacher for being on task. Today he got a couple of points from his other teacher for being on task and for being engaged with what they were learning. So
awesome.
I'm really proud of him. He's doing really well.
Yeah, my daughter just started 5th grade. Last Wednesday was her first day, so she's so far been doing good. She's a little. Both of her friends are in her class. Both of her best friends are in her class, which is the first time that she's had something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, she is a little, kind of like, okay, am I going to be able to focus with both of my friends being there? But so far, she's doing good. But today we are going to be talking about the passion for the saga, our passion for Star Wars, and kind of where we're at, maybe in our lives when it comes to passion. And this stems from a conversation that we had a few days ago after I went back through the archives and listened to some old audio, some old podcast episodes, way back to 2020. I went back, way back, out of here.
Yeah.
And one of the things I noticed was it felt like in my voice that I had like a different level of passion at that point. That I feel like I'm missing now, and I don't know.
So let me ask you this, Mark.
Okay.
Because this was something that you brought to my attention, and it's something I've actually pondered about within myself. But where do you feel like this I wouldn't say disinterest, but where do you feel like this lack of passion stems from?
I think I think there's a couple of points. One is just time. Being a father, having family, having family that doesn't share the same passion for Star Wars that I do. They enjoy it, they like it, but I get home from work and the daughter's always wanting to do something. The wife is always wanting. So it seems like as far as really getting into it, I have limited time, to when I can just sit down by myself and watch. Just life getting in the way, stuff like that. I think some of it is also just because of all the negativity that's been going on, in a lot of ways, it feels like sometimes your passion can be just beaten out of you. Because I'll be honest, I used to listen to Star Wars podcasts all the time. I used to watch Star Wars YouTubers all the time. I can't anymore because I get pissed off because they're talking such negativity about it, and I just want to, I watch about 5 minutes. I'm like, nope, I can't take this anymore. Like, even if I agree with what they're saying, it's just the attitude and the snarkiness, the tone. I'm just like, ugh. Like, I want to disagree with them just because of their tone.
Yeah, you just want to rail back, because even if they might be, even if they're factually accurate or you side with their opinion, you kind of develop this desire to engage in the animosity, but in a different context. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it's so there's that. And I don't know. I mean, it's not like I still don't love Star Wars. Don't get that wrong out there. I still love Star Wars. It's still my favorite movie franchise. But I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Describe it as far as feeling like I'm losing my passion for it. I don't want people to think that I'm losing my love for it.
Do you feel like part of it stems from the oversaturation of the content that's being put out?
I don't know, maybe a little. I mean, like, I loved Andor. I've enjoyed, I'd say, about 75 to 80% of what they've put out. I've enjoyed. And really, I've enjoyed most of it to some extent. I've enjoyed most of it. Even the stuff that wasn't that great, I've been able to find things that I find enjoyable about it, and I can sit back and watch it. But like, right now, that's my only really access into the world of Star Wars. Like, there was a time when, I've said this before, I could tell you anything you want to know about the different ships and vehicles. I could tell you history, down to detail, because I was reading the books. I was I'm just, that stuff I'm just not doing now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch the movies regularly like I used to. And maybe there's something that I need to start doing myself to kind of rekindle that passion.
Well, it's kind of a weird fine line. It's kind of a hard thing to determine, because like I remember 12 years ago, when my ex-wife and I were dating. So my ex-wife and I are both avid fans of Star Wars. We both love Star Wars. And I don't know where she is with her fandom now. I can assume it's probably about the same level as it was before. But like, 12 years ago, just a few months before we got engaged, I went over to her side of the family for Thanksgiving, and I remember we were playing Star Wars Trivial Pursuit, and I was going on like these massive runs of questions. Like, I would get these hard questions, and they would actually pull up. They would switch out cards to try and stump me with some of these really hard questions, and I was nailing it. They were even cheating, and I still ended up winning.
Wow!
Because I had all this useless trivia in my head, and that's where I've always been able to shine, is because all that arcana, all of that trivia was just stuck in my head. My ex-wife knew about like the background on the movies and stuff like that. I knew all the deeper ins and outs of the lore because I read through the books. I read through the graphic novels and the comic books and stuff like that, and I played some of the video games. So I had all this other additional information stuck in my head, and it served me no good until I really came onto the podcast. But like, I remember just enjoying it. And like, when the sequel trilogy came out, which, my God, it's been almost 10 years since The Force Awakens released in theaters. Yeah, right.
Wow.
But like, I remember, like, we went to go see every movie opening weekend,
Right.
and even when things were rocky between us, that was still something that we enjoyed, and I was still very much gung ho for Star Wars. Because this was someone I shared this love for the saga with. So it felt kind of rekindled and reinforced, and we kind of re-energized each other on the on our love for Star Wars. But what became interesting is when she left at the end of 2020, stellar year that was to begin with. Like, I found myself for the first time never wanting to touch anything Star Wars related again. And it was really frustrating for me because this is something I love very much. Like, I was flipping through Disney Plus, and I'm like, I don't want to touch this. Like, I wouldn't even go into the Star Wars tab for the longest time. And what really got me out of it was getting me out of that funk was I was teaching at the time, and I had students who loved Star Wars. And because of that, because of their eagerness for it, it got me eager for the stuff that was coming out, like Star Wars Visions and Mandalorian and stuff like that. So having those new seasons coming out actually helped. But as Disney, Lucasfilm have been saturating the market and flooding the streaming service with all this content, it's not that I've lost my passion for it. For me, the issue is that there's just so much. And it used to be that Star Wars was supposed to be for everybody who enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And now it's like there's Star Wars for kids, there's Star Wars for adults, there's Star Wars for teenagers, there's Star Wars just for girls. And it's like Princess Leia was more of a main character than Luke Skywalker or Han Solo ever were. If you look at the original trilogy, I mean, even Lucas has even said that. She's the one that gets things done. She is the impetus for why everything is happening in the first place. And they're just the vehicle by which she's able to get things done. And so, so I've had those moments where my passion for it has waned, but at the same time, it has built back in a different way. And I kind of see your point, like the negativity from the fandom and from the fan base does get irritating. I think where I get frustrated, and this is mostly coming from that writing perspective, is when I see something happening in a series and none of it makes sense other than because the screenwriter needs it to happen for the plot to exist. And that annoys the heck out of me. For example, you have a show like I know I kept making the joke about Andor season 2. I'd like to have more Andor with my Andor, but for Obi-Wan Kenobi, he was the title character, and yet more of the focus, more of the development fell on Reva as the villain. And I'm like, I'm so done with her. I don't care. I want to know about the relationship between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin and how this develops. I want to know what happens when he interacts with Owen and Luke and Beru. That's the stuff I cared more about. I don't care about some Inquisitor who, it was pointless. Like, she was an interesting character, sure, but like, I wanted the focus to be on Obi-Wan, and it wasn't on him.
I will admit, and maybe it's the ADD in me, but I've gone through periods like this, not just with this fandom, but with other fandoms too, where I'll be really into something for a long period of time, and then I'll kind of get out of it for a while. Something else will pique my interest.
Mhm.
And then I'll get back into it. It's with a lot, different things. But Star Wars has always been something that I've always, had at least some level of fandom with for years, to varying degrees. And that is, with everything you just said about the Disney accusation, that is one thing that I do like. One thing I do like that Disney has done is they've put it in a place where I know even if I'm to, completely fall off the fandom for a while, that it will always be there. Like, I can always come back, and Star Wars will be there for me. I can just go to Disney Plus and watch A New Hope if I want to, or watch Return of the Jedi, and it's always going to be there. It's always going to be available to me. Which there was a time when that wasn't true for Star Wars. You didn't have that. But
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is, like, I was looking on my shelf. I've got this old, like, wire stand that I used to keep my DVDs and stuff on when I had a much smaller collection. Now my collection spans 2 full bookshelves full of DVDs and Blu-ray. But, like, I've made it a point of keeping physical media as my, like, don't get me wrong, the streaming connection is great because I can pull it up, pretty much from any device I need to.
yeah.
And having that as a convenience is great, but there comes with it the trade-off. And the trade-off is that because it's digitized, because it is available for streaming, I don't own that copy. I'm borrowing it.
Yeah.
Like it's a lending library or something.
Yeah.
And at any given time,
I can see that.
that content can be edited on the fly to have things changed out. In fact, we've already seen this happening on streaming services. A great case in point is back in June, we had the release of Predator, Killer of Killers, which is an animated film in the Predator franchise, and they tacked on an additional, like, 30 seconds to a minute of animation in a mid-credit scene that wasn't there when it was originally released on Hulu. And sure, it's great. It answers some questions, but it's like, why wasn't it just included in the original cut? Why did you have to go and splice it back in to a digital version? What, and so when you see stuff like that happen, it's really frustrating. Or like with at one point, I think they had Gone with the Wind on HBO Max, which is it's a classic film. It's like it's in the it's one of the top rated 100 films of all time. And yeah, sure, audiences, it doesn't mesh well with modern sensibilities and modern audiences, whatever that looks like. But, like, they've tacked on a warning, a trigger warning at the beginning of the film because of things that pop up, like word usages and other tones and themes that pop up in the film. It's like, if you need a trigger warning for something that is not, like, gruesome or violent or explicit, then you need to go wear a helmet.
Yeah. I agree. I think one thing, and this is something I will admit to, is I think sometimes I feel that because, I see people who have these, huge collections of Star Wars memorabilia. They have all the lightsabers, they have all the toys, and I mean, this is what I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I start to kind of think like, do I really belong in this echelon of Star Wars nerds?
Yeah.
Because I don't, because I've never been a huge collector. I've never, except for the books. At one point, I did have all of the most of the I got a good collection of Legends books and a lot of the like guides, like guide to the planets, the tech manuals and stuff like that. But I think sometimes I see this and I do get a tinge of imposter syndrome. Like, who do I think I am being, hosting a Star Wars podcast, and I can't tell you what type of planet that this character was from in this,
Well, but see, that's just it, though. You have just as much right as anybody else to host or co-host a Star Wars podcast for one reason only. You enjoy the content. Now, don't get me wrong. There are probably some podcasts out there that land-based Star Wars as much as they possibly can. And that's how they make their living. That's the whole reason why they exist. Mm-hmm. But you do this because you love this franchise. As you said, as you've proclaimed on your own without anybody twisting your arm or holding a blaster to your head, as far as I'm aware, this is one of your favorite film franchises.
Yeah.
Run with that. Run with that.
Yeah.
It's incredibly important for you to do that because, I mean, there are ways that people express their fandom. Some people express it through collecting items. Some people, respect it and reflect that love through, through getting as much of the books and the lore and the video games as they possibly can because they want to be in that world. Others host podcasts, and that is perfectly fine. There's like, I get where you're coming from. You don't want to feel like a fraud, but at the same time, there's this idea that you've got to express it some way, and it's good for you to have others who can come alongside you and share in that, because ultimately that's what builds up the fan base more than anything. Have you ever seen the movie Fanboys?
I have not. No.
The movie came out in the early to mid 2000s, and the whole premise of it is about these three guys who are best friends, and they drive to Lucas Ranch, or up in Marin County, and or Skywalker Ranch, and the whole point is it takes place in 1998 or early 1999, and they break into Skywalker Ranch for the sole purpose of trying to see if they can get their hands on an early copy of the Phantom Menace because one of the guys is dying from stage 4 cancer. And it's based on a true story, or a true-ish story. And so all three of these guys are big fans, but they do what they can for their friend. And I think it was such a great story, because eventually Lucas allows just the kid who's dying to see it, not the other two. They have to wait until it hits theaters. And it's such a cool story, because what you have are people who care enough about this thing that they love, but they also care about their friends.
Yeah.
And think about the friends that you've met through this love for Star Wars.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've said it before, going to see the prequel trilogy, waiting in line, seeing, I wasn't at that level though, but I remember seeing people with tents camped out for overnight so they could get there to get the night screening when it came out.
Yeah.
But there's that camaraderie that everyone was there, and you had people from all different age groups. You had, parents with children and, there to watch it. People from all different socioeconomic group levels of race, creed, religion, all there because they love Star Wars, and there was new Star Wars coming out. And one thing I do appreciate about, and I've tried to promote with this show, especially when I say, it's not just my Star Wars, it's our Star Wars, is, getting different views, but not, not getting nasty with each other, having people with different views of the movies. I remember when Will was on, you had Will, who was an unabashed fan of the sequel trilogy, loved anything Star Wars, didn't matter what it was. If it said Star Wars, he loved it. And then you have someone like you, who's a bit more critical of the sequel trilogy, and then I'm somewhere in the middle. There's parts of it I enjoy, parts of it I'm like, but
and then we've got Brian, who's a dyed-in-the-wool Sith Lord.
Yeah, but no matter who has been in the co-host seat, we've always been cordial, we've always been respectful, and we've always understood that it's just an opinion. It's you have your thoughts, and other people have their thoughts, and
yeah, absolutely.
And it's, to quote Star Wars, it's a certain point of view.
Yes, it is, sir. And I think it's. Yep, I got the same text message. For those of you who are wondering what the heck we're just now talking about as we're switching gears for just a moment, we've been texting with Brian, and apparently his computer has completely burned out on him, and it unfortunately is the only one that allows him to connect with StreamYard, which is the recording service that we use. So unfortunately, he's not able to join us tonight, and I'm so bummed because it's been a couple of weeks and I miss that guy.
I know, but hopefully next week he will be back. Hopefully.
Fingers and toes crossed. And
don't cross too many. My daughter has told me that if you cross too many things, it backfires the crossing.
I only worry about that when it comes to crossing the streams.
Never cross the streams.
Exactly. Or go to ludicrous speed. The last thing we need is to have an explosion at ludicrous speed. We don't want to go to
we don't need that. Yes.
So
I understand that reference.
Good. I hope so.
Yeah.
For the fact that we talked about,
I understood both of those references.
So I guess this brings me to a question, because I mean, obviously, because you said that you don't remember the last time when you watched any of the movies. So then, when we were doing the reviews of the films, did you watch?
I wasn't watching them. No, I fully admit I was. I know. It's horrible.
Me too.
I feel horrible.
Me too.
Oh no, but I take that back. I do remember the last time the last time I watched movie. A few months ago, I did sit down with Lily, and we watched Rogue One. I think I scarred her because she wasn't expecting. She looked at me afterwards. She's like, the last scene where the Death Star's firing on Scarif, and she's like, "They're gonna get out, right?" I'm like, no. Like, no, she's like, the main characters can't die. They can't. I'm like, And then the last Saga movie I watched was the anniversary of
Return of the Jedi.
40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi in theaters
2 years ago.
I took my daughter to go see it in there's a little art theater in Champaign. It's like the old school. It's like the old fashioned with the balconies and the giant stage. It's really cool. It's called the Virginia, and there's a statue outside of what was his Roger Ebert outside.
Oh,
which is
that's
cool.
cool.
He's in a bit because he went to the he's a graduate of the University of Illinois, and for years, even before he passed, they would do a film festival there in his name called the Ebert Fest, and had a lot of independent filmmakers would go there, and he really promoted independent filmmaking, and so they still have it to this day. It's a and he would show up, and there would usually be a bunch of actors there, and in fact, I got to meet the what was his name? He was the farmer in the movie Babe.
Oh, James Cromwell.
James Cromwell. He was in town. We saw him at a fast food restaurant one night after church. It was a Wednesday night, and we're eating at this late night fast food place, and we see him and Roger Ebert come in, and we're like, "Do we go?"
That's awesome. The closest. I mean, yeah, I've met some celebrities in my time. I mean, there's a couple I could brag about, but it was just like, I don't know, like seeing them out in the wild is kind of it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
like they just want to be treated like normal people, but it was only a handful of people. It's only been a couple of celebrities that I've met out in the wild. And I think the weirdest interaction I ever had, hands down, was George Lopez. The guy lived in Carmel at the time. I was working at a movie theater in Monterey, and he came in. He was taking his daughter to go see the first Happy Feet. And so you could see how long ago this was. This was 19 years ago. Wow. And I recognized him. I was working the concession stand. He came through my line, and I'm like, "Enjoy your movie, Mr. Lopez." And he just had that constant, like, wide-eyed stare. Like, this guy had been, like, macrameing himself into a sofa for 30 hours before showing up at the theater. And it's like, dude, how easy was it for you to drive the 10 miles from Carmel to Monterey? But, like, yeah, and I'm just like, enjoy the movie. I'm not going to harass you. You got your kid with you.
Yeah, I've never really met, I mean, a few musical acts. I've met them. Used to go when I was younger. Used to go to concerts all the time. So I've met a few. But it's been more like you see them as you're walking by or something like that, or not a lot of actors or anything like that. I mean, we don't get a lot of major, although we did this year. We did get we got a movie got filmed in my hometown that had John Goodman and Sean Astin both.
That would have been really cool, because it's Fred Flintstone and Samwise Gamgee. How could
I know. Although cool. I had a friend who got in as an extra.
Nice.
On the film, but they told them, do not talk to the stars. Do not engage with them. Do not talk with them.
If they engage with
them, she's like, they're talking with everybody else. Yeah, but there's like, don't say hi to them. They're working. Just.
So this leads me to the next question.
Okay.
The question I came up with, and this is something I've been mulling over for the last few days since you and I had our conversation over the phone. How would you approach, if say you encountered someone who's been a fan of Star Wars? How would you approach them if they came up to you and said, "Hey, I've lost my love for the saga"? Like, how would you encourage them? Like, if you were in their shoes, how would you want to be encouraged?
Well, first of all, I would say that's okay. Like, I would tell them, I've been in your shoes before, and it's not the end of the world if you fall out of love with something like this.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be, it's still going to be there. You can still go, there's still ways you can, if you decide one day, like, I want to watch Star Wars again. I haven't watched it in a while. You can still, there's still DVDs you can buy. If you don't have Disney Plus, you can still there are still ways to get back into it. But it's not the end of the world. There are things that I used to love when I was a kid that I love Transformers. I can't think of the last time I thought about Transformers.
Yeah.
So just because you lose interest in something doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good thing or a bad thing. It just means that maybe you're at a different time of your life. And I would tell them, just take, if you need to take a break, take a break. Sometimes it's good to take breaks from things, when you get, we try to, even with this podcast, we try to take, at least one break a year where, during Christmas, where we can kind of spend time with family and kind of refocus and then come back. And there'll be times, where each one of us will take a vacation or something like that to kind of,
Yeah. And it's kind of, for me, the way I would probably respond to it is I probably would say something along the same lines. And for me, I've always been anecdotal, so I would probably end up sharing a little bit of my experience, like I did with this episode, and say, hey, this is where I was at, just a few years ago, but it was other people who enjoyed the saga so much. Like aside from some of the new content that was coming out on Disney Plus, I hadn't actually watched through any part of the saga in a while, since the theater release of Rise of Skywalker. And but when you guys started inviting me to come on as a guest host, like that was also partly what reinvigorated my love for Star Wars. And so getting that opportunity to engage with other people that love this thing as much as I did really was helpful. And so, like, I would ask them, is this something that's been important to you, or is this just something that, it's a passing fad? Because if it's the second one, then no big deal. Don't worry about it. You'll probably bounce back into it at some point. But if you're the kind of person who is, if this was a really important facet of your life, for a lot, like it is for a lot of people, then by all means, if go with what's happening right now, but don't be afraid to dive back in, because you'll probably remember what it is that drew you to the franchise to begin with.
Well, one thing that's really kind of wanting me to kind of find a way to kind of rekindle that passion, that love is, as I've mentioned a few times, I'm going to be a guest on the podcast, What Does Star Wars Mean to You? And listening to people that have been on there talk about their passion for the fandom and how much they love it and how much it means, it's really wanted to kind of, start to rekindle that fire in me, like to be like, man, I remember what it was like to be at that, point of just being so excited about everything. And and it's been fun just listening to other people, whether or not I agree with their opinions on different aspects of the film. It's been fun just listening to people, discuss their passion, and at all levels, like, whether it be someone who is a new Star Wars fan. I've listened to a lot of people who their first movie was Force Awakens. I listened to a couple of people that was their introduction into Star Wars, was The Force Awakens. And they're huge Star Wars fans. They love all of it now. But that was their gateway, was that movie. And then you have other people who, their gateway was the prequel trilogy or the original trilogy. It's just been fun and interesting listening to them, all of these different people, talk. And it's brought me back to, like I said, going to the premiere of the prequel trilogy, and being with all these people and talking about the movies and seeing everybody dressed up or not dressed up or just super hyped and super excited about watching, it's about Star Wars. So
I think probably the pinnacle for me was going to Star Wars Celebration 10 years ago. It was such an amazing opportunity, and to see so many people who loved Star Wars was great. And if you, and so for anybody watching or listening to this, if you ever get an opportunity to go do it.
I'm saying I know we've talked about this before with Brian, but if there's a way in 2027 that we can, all three of us can get out to California for Star Celebration Anaheim, we need to figure out a way to make that happen.
We do. Because it would be great. It would be
all of us in one room, and but yeah, I have decided I'm going to try to make a concerted effort this to rewatch the movies, to sit down and watch them again, and whether that's one movie a month like we were doing when we were doing the reviews and watching them. Sorry.
Hey, I'm feeling just as called out, man.
Yeah. But I think it's because you've seen them so many times. You're like, oh, I know this movie by heart.
Yeah,
I can do dialogue.
I can't tell you the number of times I've fallen asleep to the original trilogy on VHS, where I could quote it in my sleep. So it's so fresh in my head all the time. And I'm also one of those people that I can see a movie and I can or I can read a book and I can remember a lot of the details of it. And so movies, I don't have a problem with going back and rewatching it multiple times. And there are several movies that I'm pretty sure that I've burned a hole through the DVD on, or the VHS. Jurassic Park being one of them. But I'm one of those people as a reader where I will read a book, and very rarely do I pick that book up a second time because I've read it, things have locked in, and I remember it. But then if in the rare moment where I do go back and I reread something, I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that part, because especially like the Harry Potter series, I read all the books and it was pretty locked in, and once I finished reading them, because I read them all in one go, I didn't reread them again until I got my subscription to Audible and I started listening to them on audiobook back in 2018. And so I listened to them all one after another, and it was kind of a weird feeling, because I'm sitting there listening, I'm like, I don't remember this part of the book at all.
Yeah.
But then I'm also comparing it to the film version. I'm like, maybe that's why. It's a little tainted.
One thing I will admit, and I don't know what this says about me, but sometimes I don't like if I'm in a movie theater watching a movie, that's fine. But it's something about sitting down and watching a movie at home. Sometimes I feel like, even if it's a great movie, and I don't know how to describe this, it's not like I feel like I wasted my time, but I feel like, once the movie is done, it's like, all right, it's done. Now what? Especially if it's late at night, it's like, okay, movie's done. Let's go to bed.
I think it depends on the movie too. If it's something I've seen before, I'll have it on the background. I have no problem dozing on the couch. If it's a movie I've never seen before, then I will watch it and I will enjoy it, and I'll be sitting there and I'll be like, and if it's really good enough, I'll be like, okay, I need to go back and rewatch that again.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of films that have come out recently that are like that for me. So one of my favorite movies that I was introduced to a few years ago, 20 years ago, in fact, holy cow, that's how long it's been, is a movie starring Josh Hartnett called Lucky Number 11. And it's a crime thriller um, Case of Mistaken Identity, and it's so like the writing on it is so clever. I had to go back and rewatch it because if you don't pay attention to things, because there's some stuff that comes back in flashbacks and memories and stuff like that. But if you do not pay attention to sequences of events, it will floor you, leaving you going, what did I just watch? And it's so clever. It's so smartly done. I loved it. I loved every minute of it, to the point where it became one of the movies in my personal collection. But I've also got a number of movies that are complete garbage that I absolutely love. Like, I'm a big fan of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Grew up with them. I mean, here on my desk is the Green Ranger helmet, 1-to-1 ratio. One of the few things I actually collect, and like I've got the 1995, which just celebrated its 30th anniversary, 1995 Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie on DVD. So
with me, it's more like I feel like it was another reason, like until just maybe about 5 years ago, I used to hate taking naps during the day because I feel like I'm going to miss something. I feel like something's going to happen, or
things, though.
They are. Oh, I love naps now. But like if I'm at a friend's, like if we go to our friend's house and they're like, are we going to play games or watch a movie? I'm the guy that's more apt to want to play a game, because I want to have that interaction. I want to be talking, and I feel like when you're sitting and watching a movie, you're not socializing. You're just sitting there watching that movie, and I'm like, I want to be talking. I want to be, what's going on, and if I'm watching a movie, that's all we're doing is watching a movie. So like we've got, with me and my wife, we've got to the habit now, like if we go to a movie, instead of doing dinner and a movie, we try to do a movie and dinner, so that we have something to talk about afterwards. We can talk about the movie, talk about what we saw, what we liked about it, stuff like that. But
I completely agree with you on that. In fact, it became part of my habit that like if I ever went on a first date, very rarely would I ever go on a first date where we went and saw a movie. Now it's like, hey, let's meet up for coffee or tea or whatever, go for a walk, get to know each other, let's have a conversation, and then as I get to know someone, then it's like, hey, let's go hit a movie. Because I want to be able to engage with them in conversation.
One thing we always do anytime we watch, especially if it's like a genre movie. So if it's like, a superhero movie or something sci-fi or something like that, we always watch the breakdown when we get back. We always watch the movie with all the finding the Easter eggs. And my wife's actually the one that started that. Like she found a couple of guys on there, and it's like Screen Crush and New Rock Stars are a couple of ones that we usually watch.
The New Rock Stars usually have some good stuff. I think the New Rock Stars get a little long-winded.
We prefer Screen Crush. We prefer we prefer Screen Crush as our.
If you ever get a chance, check out the Heavy Spoilers show. They have two different hosts. One guy is Paul. He's a British guy. I like him. He's pretty funny. The other guy, I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I don't care for him as much. He does more breakdowns on certain niche things, but like more of the Marvel stuff. I really like Paul does more of the sci-fi horror type stuff. So like with Alien Earth being out now, I've been watching some of the stuff that's been coming out from the various channels that are focused on that. So anyway, I think we're at a point where we can start wrapping up, but before we do, we do need to, if it's been out on social media for about a day now, but Terrence Stamp, the actor who played Chancellor Valorum in Star Wars Episode 1: A Phantom Menace, passed away yesterday. And it's kind of a bummer because not only was he in one of our favorite franchises, but he has he has also played both the greatest villain and the father to
Yes.
Mark's favorite superhero.
Kneel before Zod.
General Zod, and he did the voice for Jor-El in the Smallville TV series.
Yes.
So
yeah. I mean, one of the greatest superhero villains of all time, General Zod.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is now one with the Force.
Yep. May the Force be with you, Chancellor.
Yes, may the Force be with you, Chancellor.
All right.
And we will all kneel before Zod.
Well, I
maybe not
kneel before God, but that's just me.
Yeah. That's true. But that is, I mean, it is still one of the most iconic movie villain movie lines.
Right?
I mean, the whole line when the president's kneeling and he says, "Oh God," and they says, "No, Zod."
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That was.
And I mean, and there's now none of them are left now. None of that from the original Superman 2, the villain, they're all.
Are you sure?
I think they're all gone. At least the villains, like
Christopher Reeves passed, Margot Kidder, Gene Hackman, Sarah Douglas passed away, Terrence Stamp, Jackie Cooper, who played Perry White, Ned Beatty. I don't know about Valerie Perrine. Jack O'Halloran, I think he might still be alive. Yeah, he's still alive. He's 82.
Oh, really? Who did he play? I can't remember.
He played Non.
He played Non?
Silent dude.
Yeah.
Mark McClure, who played Jimmy Olsen, is also still alive. He's 68. He also played Jimmy Olsen in Supergirl, and then he played Michael J. Fox's older brother in Back to the Future.
Yeah. I have to give a quick shout out to the actor who played Jimmy Olsen in the new 2025 Superman. That was a great Jimmy Olsen. I really enjoyed that Jimmy Olsen. He was fun. I love Jimmy being the ladies' man.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like it was
being the like almost reluctant ladies' man. He's just like, not again. Not these beautiful women hanging on me.
Hey, fun fact. Richard Griffiths, who played Vernon Dursley in the Harry Potter franchise.
Yeah.
He was in Superman 2. He was one of the terrorists on the Eiffel Tower.
Nice.
Yeah. Fun little crossover. Anyway,
all right.
Let's wrap up. Even though Brian's not here with us this week, you guys can connect with him on facebook.com/the.sith.library, where he posts as Darth Corrosis. This is a carefully cultivated group for information, lore, stories, all about the dark side, all about the Sith, and it is really cool content. So go ahead and check them out on Facebook. Hopefully he'll be able to join us again next week. And I'll let you talk about what our topic is next week when we get to that point. As for me, you guys can connect with me on Instagram and X at GKJ_publishing, where I talk about my books, The Archives of Isin Kran. There's 5 books in the series. I'm working on book 6 now. And then I just have my new anthology, which hit the audio version at the end of July. So it's available on Kindle and paperback as well. And then I've got my show The Right Way on YouTube. I'm getting things planned out for season 8. And then just this last Friday, we had a new episode of Snackame on our Feast of Fandoms channel. Check it out. We were talking about the way of the house husband and eating some bento boxes. Really, really delicious stuff.
All right. As for us right here at War of the Stars, if you want to get a hold of us, there are a few ways you can do that. First of all, you can email us at warofthestars1@gmail.com. You can also get us on Instagram, X, YouTube, and Blue Sky at War of the Stars 77. Blue Sky is War of the Stars 1. I haven't changed that handle yet. So yeah. You can check us out there on social media. If you want to support the show, kofi.com/War of the Stars or spreadshirt.com/shop/war-of-the-stars As Garrett mentioned, we are a proud member of Feast of Fandoms. That check out the Feast of Fandom Network on YouTube for all the cool shows there, including ours. And then, of course, next week we will be discussing, drumroll please, capital ships, the big dogs, the big boom, boom, boom ships. We're going to be talking about those, talking about our favorites, and just getting a deep dive into those. So with that being said, remember, as always, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.